Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm one of the KIPP Forward counselors here to talk to you about our LinkedIn tutorial. It's really going to cover how to get started with LinkedIn, and it's a part of our Summer of KIPP series this year. We hope you'll enjoy it and take some important lessons on how to start your online professional presence. Let's get started. Here's our agenda for today. We'll cover what exactly LinkedIn is. We'll go over how to develop a profile. Of course, we'll cover how to keep connected. And lastly, we'll share with you our desire to connect with you online on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is actually a professional social network. You may be familiar with the social networks you use to interact with your friends and family, to upload dog memes and the like. This one specifically is made for professional circles, right? To make networking possible across long distances. And so what you want to see here, and we'll go over this as well, is to really cater to an audience that you want to be developing towards in a particular industry, or that you want to be associated in a particular way through personal branding. LinkedIn is one of the more practical ways to connect with your professional network and to establish an online presence. That means when someone looks you up, particularly an employer or someone you met in a professional setting, they will be able to find you and learn more about what it is you do. LinkedIn is also used to research employers, right? There's a big online presence for large companies and nonprofits. Even some of the larger, medium-sized companies are on here because it's a great way to let others know about their services and to be recruiting others who may be interested in working for them as well. You can take advantage of this by exploring those who currently work in either that sector or that industry. For example, if you're looking to go into teaching, you might look at others who are teaching at KIPP and see what type of experience they have, so that you could also follow that type of model for your career path. At the same time, when you make a LinkedIn, you are making a commitment to keep it up. It's not the same as an Instagram where you can post once every couple of months, or you only add your fake friends on there and post a story every now and then, right? You do need to be interactive in your LinkedIn, and the reason for that, it's primarily a way for others and for you to help each other, right? But if others notice that you're not really on there, then that network can't be activated when you need it. And so you should also do your due diligence to support others in searching for connections and supporting them, right? It is a community of learners and professionals. It's all the more reason also why you want to be specific with your network, right? Sometimes your friends, your real life friends, might add you on Instagram and you'll accept, but you don't want those same friends posting maybe a couple of pictures that are a little too personal for a professional setting, right? You want to think about this as an online version of being at the workplace, and you want to maintain that professional aspect at all times. Which brings us to number 3, right? That means that when you're talking or when you're posting on LinkedIn, it should be related to your career or to a career interest or to a professional interest you may have. Nowadays, you'll see a little bit of a reflection type posting that is common, and that's okay if you have a reflection based upon your experience. Just be aware that you are not the only one who will be looking at those, right? And so it's a combination of 3 and 4 in this case, where you want to maintain professionalism and be able to talk about your experience in a way that leaves the door open for conversation and further exploration by you and your networks, right? We understand that you are growing as a professional, and that's what we want to portray outside as well. There are three things that I want to cover here with developing a profile. The first one is navigation, professional pictures, and then adding personal experience details, right, around your work experience. When you log into LinkedIn, you create an account, it'll ask you a couple of details, and after a few setups, you're going to get to a page that might look familiar from your use of social media. The main center is a timeline or a news feed, whatever you may call it, but it has all the latest postings from people in your network, people you follow, pages you follow. Like if you're a fan of where you went to school, then you might see a posting from them, as I show in my example, right? So organizations, colleges, universities, nonprofits, Fortune 500 companies, all of these folks have an online presence on LinkedIn, and they want to maintain an interaction with their fellow constituents on the website. So they'll consistently post, and you can like those, you can comment on them, you can share them with others. There's a lot of different ways to do that. The main way we go about exploring our LinkedIn is through the bar at the top. You'll see home, which is where we're currently at and where the timeline is, my network, jobs, messaging, and notifications, and we'll go through that in a second. My network button is one of the places you'll be visiting the most. As you can see from my example, I have some invitations to connect, and that's how typically you will connect with others. You request, and on your side, you'll see whether you want to accept or ignore the request, right? So here I have Caitlin. She requested me on LinkedIn. I'm going to accept her because I know her in real life. We work together. And that's kind of the premise, right? That's what you want to filter through. How did you meet this person? Did you have a positive working experience? How did they add to the work environment? Those are the folks that you really want to connect with. And then the algorithm, of course, because we are online and everybody is being tracked. Down below, you can see some of my current coworkers, right? And they're who also work at KIPP, right? Some of your former counselors, maybe. You can see that I have a way to connect with them, so I can be the one initiating that connection, and you can do that just simply by clicking on that button. And they will always suggest people you may know from KIPP SoCal Public Schools, people you may know from your college days, from your high school days, even from an organization or event you both went to. This is where they'll pop up. You can start it. You can start it through the suggestions, or you could let it be, right? It's up to you, but at the beginning, you are going to want to expand your network. As I mentioned before, LinkedIn is a great place to find opportunities for growth, including new jobs. And so for me, a lot of my experience has been in education and being a college counselor and a career counselor. So you'll see those are the suggestions that I have that pop up according to the algorithm, right? And this is where LinkedIn is very helpful. If you don't know, it'll try to summarize your experience and give you terms to search, right? And the search bar is a powerful one. In this particular tab section, you can see that they already have recommendations for me. There is a college admission counseling program manager position at Seneca Education here in Los Angeles. It was posted 14 hours ago, so it's very fresh, right? Sometimes when you go to other websites such as Indeed or Monster or any other job search sites you may have, you don't always know when the job posting is going to come up. Here you can actually set reminders. You can set follow companies so that you know when they post items, right? We'll cover this a little later, but anywhere that you want to follow and have an interest in, I would highly encourage you to look them up and see what their opportunities are like and get a sense for when they post. On the top bar, you're also going to have a place for messages, right? You're going to have notifications with a little symbol, a little red bubble that tells you you should check it out. And it works just like messaging in other platforms. You can share links, you can share pictures. Now you can share even GIFs, right? Or videos, smileys, etc. But remember, this is a professional setting, so you want to remain formal and appropriate at all times. Again, this is an extension of the workplace, and really follow that guideline, right? If you see something on your timeline or on your newsfeed that you want to share with folks, please go ahead and do so. There's multiple ways to do that. You can share it to your entire network, or if you see an opportunity that you think so and so might be very appropriate to check out, right? Maybe have a very good fit, you can send that to them directly. And so everybody appreciates when you think about them and when you remember to interact. So go ahead and do that, right? Don't be timid about it, right? Definitely, this is the place to engage and move forward with making those connections. Moving away from the navigation bar and towards the left, and you can go ahead and click on your photo, your name, and you'll be taken to your actual profile. And as you can see from my example, there's a place for you to put your actual picture of yourself. And there's like a banner behind you, right? And there's some text right below your name as well as the location. Those are all important facets of a LinkedIn profile. They're the first thing everyone sees. So at all times, again, remember this is an extension of the workplace. You want to have a picture that is professional in nature, that where you're perhaps wearing a professional clothing or clothing that is appropriate for the work that you're engaging in, right? So as a professional in education, I have a tie, open sweater in this case, but nonetheless a collared shirt that all matches, right? As for folks out there, they might consider a different background picture, right? If they were not in education, I chose this one for my own graduation that I took, and so I use that as my own background picture. I would encourage you don't have to take your own background picture like that, right? But there are websites like Unsplash that have free, royalty-free pictures that you can use, and what that means is that you don't have to pay for them. And it's a lot better than going on Google and searching images for whatever it is you might be looking at, like green hills in a forest, let's say, because you don't know where that picture may have come from, and there might be a price for it. And if you're going into a professional network and you're copying and pasting without attribution, without telling people where you got the picture from, it's not a great look. So go ahead and take extra care to find a royalty-free picture. At the same time, going back to the profile picture, nowadays cameras are really great on your phone, so they let you have a nice blurry effect in the background. And what I typically suggest is that if you don't see that you can have that blurry effect in your setting, in your immediate surrounding, go ahead and find like a bush, a small bush or a tree, something green that in the background that you can be in front of when you take the picture. And that usually works out really well for people. Other folks get creative and do some, they know how to separate themselves from the background, and they color that in one solid, color that makes them stand out, right? Those are all acceptable within reason, right? Again, the important part is that professional outward appearance, and maintaining that this is a version of the workplace online. Lastly, I want to call attention to the tagline and the location, right? Where you put in location is where other folks are going to know where you're currently working at and what area you might be interested in working in the future, right? Nobody is going to give you a job in Washington, D.C. if you're not telling them that you're looking for a job in Washington, D.C., if you don't live in Washington, D.C., so on and so forth. At the same time, you want to tell them what it is you're looking for and what type of work interests you and how that industry or that area where you work relates to your passions. And so I have a little sentence right there about college counseling and career counseling and what it means to work with alumni like yourselves, and families, really. So I encourage you to make a multifaceted sentence, right? People have different examples. I just share mine, but there are definitely more out there that are even more well crafted than what you see here. LinkedIn is a great place to bring that resume you worked on earlier in one of our other workshops with Sydney, to transfer over some of that information. And I want to emphasize that, there are areas of your resume that will overlap with what you should have on LinkedIn. And there are areas where there are differences that you should not really go ahead and transfer directly from your resume. These are the ones that I think overlap and that should be transferable. So you definitely still want to promote your skills and experiences. You want to do that formatting that Sydney talked about action verbs and driving results, right? How do you promote what you did and how you did it and how effective you were through specific data numbers, right? And you do that through statements. I think you have a really great example in my last bullet point on the right. Facilitate SAT registration by setting up personalized college goals, increasing fee waiver use by 41%. If I had to make changes to that right now, I would put that up front just to make it clear what that change was and how I did it later. Again, that's the template you want to follow. Generally, you can revisit that video if you need to. You also want to focus in on, it has to be clear from your profile what industry you're in. What area are you looking for work, or are you currently working in? So in my area, of course, it's education. There are also important ways LinkedIn can help you distinguish yourself from your resume and capture more unique experiences. For example, you do have the newsfeed available to you. You can always comment on that. You can always post that activity, and that's seen by everyone on your network, right? And that's the other part. Everything is online for everyone to search up about you on LinkedIn. So if you want to be intentional about what it is you're posting, other people can see it, make a connection, really see overlap between you and their interest. In addition, as you see on the right, I actually added an experience that was unique to me, that was outside of education, but that I thought was related to my development, and that was an important experience overall. So I went ahead and added, this was about a Pasadena Playhouse community organizer consultant job. You can read more about it there, but some things I would change, just, really keep the introductory paragraph shorter, and then keep those 3 bullet points that really highlight my achievements. Lastly, I want to emphasize again, this is a great opportunity to include other experiences that don't quite fit in on a 2-page resume, but might fit in better on an online resume that doesn't have any limit, right? So still be intentional, but know that you have that flexibility. And of course, the name of the game here is to stay active and stay connected, right? So let's find a few ways, again, just to make sure we cover as much as possible on how to stay connected. I've mentioned this already, but I want to emphasize that folks can look you up on LinkedIn, but you can also look up people, organizations, web pages, collections of and groups of folks, right, that have a common interest. Use the search feature on top. It's pretty, it has a variety of features, including searching by geographic location, by name, by the number of connections you have in common, by area, as far as area of interest, right? If you're interested in art, for example, you can look up visual artists, multimedia artists. That's also why the little tagline on the front of your profile, right under your picture, is really important, because that's one of the easiest ways folks get to tell what it is you do, right? And so that appears on your search results, as well as your education, and the city that you live in. That's the little preview that everybody gets to see, who's on LinkedIn, right? You also want to be using the follow feature, right? So once you've built a network, you're actually going to start getting suggestions for other people that have mutual connections, that you can follow. However, that includes companies of interest for you, issues, or nonprofits. And with those larger organizations, you don't have to, connect with them. It's not a personal profile. They have like a whole page for them. And so you can just follow them to see their updates. So it's like subscribing to a YouTube video. When a new video comes out, you'll be notified. That's essentially what happens here as well. And the follow feature is really great. Some higher end profile folks, and what I mean by that is people who have hundreds of connections and who are really active on LinkedIn because of their experience, right? You can follow those folks too. You don't necessarily have to make a connection with them. You don't, because LinkedIn doesn't let you make a connection with anybody that you don't have for more than several, more than one thing in common or more than several people in common. So you can always request a connection, but the easiest thing is, of course, to click on their subscribe button, their follow button, and really get to know the person in that way, right? I also personally like the email alerts that I get, especially for search things that I search. Maybe it's a job, right? That I'm looking for, and so I'll always get email alerts. One of the ones I have right now is about finding work in or positions in Congress in Congress areas and representatives, right? Just to see what's out there in the Sacramento area, right? So those are how specific you can get with your emails alerts. So I encourage you to be creative in how you want to use those, right? I do that there was an ask from one of the alumni, so I keep an eye on that and see what pops up, right? Sometimes you might do that for yourself, or if you're curious about exploring a new field, those are also really low lift, high impact ways that you can search even on your off time, because these emails will come in, once a day at the beginning of your day. And as you're scrolling through your email, when you get a little bit of time, you can see what those results are. So it's a really great way to stay connected and to be active as well. And lastly, of course, is related, but researching those job requirements, right? When you find someone that maybe has a title that sounds really interesting, like doing public policy work at an organization or a nonprofit, you might be interested in what it is their job entails. And so, of course, you can go through their profile, you could look at it, and I encourage you to do that. But pay close attention to the requirements maybe that they have fulfilled, right? What skills do they have? How long have they worked there, right? And what can you do to maybe increase your chances of getting that same job opportunity? Organizations and companies will often put job postings online as well, as we have seen, and you can click those, and those are very detailed as well. And you can keep track of those. They have a save feature, so if you don't want to look at it now but don't also want to forget about it later, you can save it and come back to it. So it's really helpful. These are more advanced features again that exist. I'm happy to guide you all through how to look through and cultivate a specific news feed for you, right? Just let me know. Wanted to speak a little bit about informational interviews, and in the past, this is when you in real life might ask someone out for a coffee to learn more about their job, and that can still happen, but now through LinkedIn you initiate some of those conversations online. So I just want to be mindful about how you might message someone, right? You always want to personalize the message, be sure you get the fundamental details about their role and what company they work at. That requires that you do some pre-work, some research on that end, so that you're prepared to send an appropriate message. It doesn't have to be lengthy. make sure you introduce yourself, but it does have to have a specific ask, right? I want to learn more about your role. I want to learn about how this compares to this. In your experience, which is better to learn to be more prepared for your job, right? Those are all intentional focus questions, which you can follow up with more if you need to, if it's a successful, if they respond, right? And when they do respond, make sure you take notes, right? Take full advantage of this opportunity. Folks are always willing to support you, but you have to make the ask. One of the main activities you'll be doing on LinkedIn is trying to expand your network. And you can do this in a variety of ways. You can actually endorse someone else for their skills, someone who did good work, someone who you worked with in the past on a particular project. That's the really great thing about LinkedIn. Everybody wants to support. So go ahead and support someone, and what you'll find is that others will also recognize the work that you've been doing and promote your skills and endorse them online. And everybody can see those endorsements as well, which just amplifies your reach and your validity of the work that you've done. Professionally, people also do reflections on their experiences. They post those in the same way they post a status update, right? So feel free to reflect on those. Think about how it is you learned and how you grew in a particular experience. And then post it, maybe add some pictures. That will also help you engage with your network audience. Lastly, I want to mention that, of course, recruiters are your best friends. Recruiters are those that whose job it is to find candidates for a particular role in organizations, in the particular field that you're in, right? They're the first to hear. They're the ones who typically post the opportunities, and you want to be among the first to hear about them as soon as they're launched. So please connect with recruiters, introduce yourself, put yourself on their radar. Exploring industry skills is another important aspect of expanding your network. You could do that through all the means that we mentioned, including searching up current folks who have the role that you want. But in particular, you want to actually try and use some of that LinkedIn learning. It's what it's called. They have a particular platform where you can actually gain particular skills for a trade. For example, there's a Google Analytics skills that might be helpful to some of you to get a certificate in. And that'll provide you with just one more way to validate those experiences, whether professional or not, onto this particular profile experience. As you saw earlier, we do have a KIPP SoCal LinkedIn page for our alumni. You can also find some of our counselors there as well. And I encourage you to post anything interesting, your accomplishments, curiosities that you may have of how to advance in your career. That's what this page is for. We have a wide network to support you, and we're always eager to see when and how you accomplish your own goals. Let's celebrate your accomplishments together by participating and engaging in this LinkedIn professional network. That concludes our LinkedIn presentation, as well as our Summer of KIPP series this year. I hope you found it valuable. I want to thank Accenture and Sydney really quickly, who is also a KIPP alumni, if you didn't catch that in our earlier videos. And together we hope that you've learned to use some of these skills to land a either summer opportunity or to look at these videos later on when you're ready to apply for a more serious opportunity as well. I leave my contact information here. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn as well. And I hope to see you on that KIPP SoCal alumni page. Talk to you soon. Take care.